Well, ladies and gentlemen, a nice little snap reversal from the all-time highs for NASDAQ. All right, then, so we're just going to break it all down for you. Bitcoin seems to be stalling at specific levels, and we're getting news about Trump, who no longer is talking about the Israel and Iran war. He's now more concerned about getting Powell replaced, and this is sort of, it's a good thing, but it's sort of not. But the data that's just come in has painted a completely different picture, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be diving into that very, very shortly. We're also going to be diving into ETFs. You should see what's going on with uranium and nuclear ETFs. They are exploding. So now it makes sense why the Israel and Iran war may have come into play. Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? But what we're going to do in this live, we are going to keep this one short and sweet, probably be done before the actual open, but I'm just going to give you as much information as I can just to get you guys started off on the day. And then, of course, let you guys be with your trading. And it's literally a very interesting time to be trading, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new, welcome to Traders Reality. My name is Tino. Let's get with the program, gang. So NASDAQ, nice little sweep of the Asian session from last night. It's only come back down on the news. What news, you say? Look at this, man. All right, so unemployment claims come in lower. That's good news, man. It just shows you a very stubborn labor market. But the GDP is contracted. Again, this GDP is not good. Remember, the Fed, or should I say the US right now, for every dollar that it earns, it owes 126% on top of that. So you can appreciate why President Trump is trying to get the interest rates cut because it's starting to hurt that $9 trillion that needs to get refinanced very, very soon. With that being said, we're getting some interesting data on the durable goods. Now, the only reason I believe that the durable goods orders are coming in so much is because companies and everyone are ordering because of this tariff story. They're concerned that they're going to end up paying more in the future. And because we don't know where we are with the tariffs fully, then people are starting to order right now and just try and get as much as they can just in case that prices in the future are going to impact that. More importantly, is oil going to stay in its range, or is it going to continue to just go back up again? How long is the war with Israel and Iran going to continue on for? So that would make sense why that data is coming in, showing durable goods coming in much more higher. Now, the topic at hand, ladies and gentlemen, is, of course, Trump putting on the pressure of everyone to try and get Powell replaced. He is getting frustrated. Why is he getting frustrated? All you got to do is look to the left over here, ladies and gentlemen. US interest rates right now, 4.5%. Pound is at 4.25. Aussie, New Zealand, and Canadian, they're below 4. But the winners are, in my opinion, is the euro and the yen. Now, this is something that you got to pay attention to. The NASDAQ is moving up, okay? The euro is moving up, all right? So just forget the smaller time frames, but you can see the euro is moving up. The yen is moving up. At the back of that, you've got the dollar going down, and it's just not stopping, ladies and gentlemen. It just doesn't want to go back up. It's coming in very close to some very significant levels right now. And the problem is hold on a second. Why would any investor want to be buying right now the stocks? Why would any investor buy at these highs right now? What, the fear that it's going to keep on going? Maybe. It probably could keep on going. But fundamentally, it doesn't make sense for investors to start buying right now. Why? Because your dollar power is dead. When the dollar goes up, naturally, the stock market is going to increase in value as well because it's putting dollars to work. But what you've got to remember is this. The euro is going up because the rates are cheap. And when the rates are cheap, it means money can be borrowed. That's why they're spending so much on defense, because they've reduced their interest rates, which means money is much more cheaper to get access of. So investors are going over and taking euros, getting those euros, and then buying European stock. The yields on the bonds in the European markets, they are all low because everyone's just going into European stock. Naturally, when the European stock market's going up and the dollar is going down, why on earth is the NASDAQ going up? Well, could be because of this story right here. Smart money, dumb money. They may be selling quite aggressively, and they are selling as prices rise. The proof of that, you only got to look at Bitcoin. You can see that we've had all of this selling here, this pink stuff. All that pink stuff coming into play is investors selling their Bitcoin because they sell when prices rise. And that is what could give us a little bit of a clue that the NASDAQ might be in a position to start topping off. Well, let's just go and have a look at volume first. This was the chart for the NASDAQ composite yesterday, okay? Now, the NASDAQ composite hasn't quite yet cleared the ranges just yet, but yesterday's volume, you look on the bottom right, you can see that there's no volume above average. If you're breaking out to the upside, you want to see volume coming in above average because it shows commitment and conviction from investors that they favor higher prices and they're looking to accumulate. Right now, that's not what we're getting, ladies and gentlemen. If you go onto the week, NASDAQ is at an all-time high and it's got weekly volume so far. We've only got one more day. That's tomorrow. One more day for volume to come in above average. And last week's volume, when NASDAQ was trying to come up, it's lower. And this week, it's even lower. So you're getting, all of you divergence traders, haven't you got your bells and whistles singing to you right now that there's divergences coming into play? Price is going up, volume's going down. Is what gives? Now, all of a sudden, the Federal Reserve is like, yeah, we're going to cut, we're going to cut, we're going to cut. And it just only takes it to that logic of the Fed pivot. That's the thing. Fed pivot. And maybe it could actually start unfolding right now. Speaking of which, if Trump names a new member of the chair, because all the members right now, it says here that Barkin has been talking about how the inflation, we don't know where the inflation is going to be with tariffs, but it's going to be a big thing for them. Okay, so it's like scaremongering investors. But if Trump does replace Powell, he's going to replace someone who is dovish. The markets will instantly react and effectively start pumping. But we need the cut first. We need to get the cut first before we can start replacing people. And it's like Trump is trying to replace to then cut. Nah, we need the cut to come in now so that the market can price in the pivot, everything comes down, and then everything can shoot back up on the new member of the Fed chair. And that's where it gets a little bit tricky, ladies and gentlemen. Look, NVIDIA, it's the top stock right now. Running it. Hit a record, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just go and have a look at NVIDIA just right now. There you go. There's your all-time high, ladies and gentlemen. It was always going to be happening. I expected that for NVIDIA. Wonderful moves. Look at that. Clearing that range. Is it coming in on high volume? Let's just go and have a look at that. Yesterday's price action for NVIDIA. Let's just go over to it. Are we seeing volume above average? I hope. There you go. So yeah, you got volume above average on NVIDIA. That's good news. Okay. But at the breakout to the upside, you're not getting the same amount of volume. And that's a problem. It needs to be volume way more than what it previously was when it was stuck in these ranges. We need to see strong breakouts. So the only way that we can sustain the idea that the breakout is valid is if NVIDIA sustains this logic and investors keep on plowing in. But man, you're buying at these very, very high prices. And the stock bond ratio is showing that stocks are way overvalued in comparison to the bonds. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky for us, ladies and gentlemen. Arkham for Bitcoin. Look at that. 689,000. It's going up. BlackRock got a little bit busy lately, and it is starting to pick up quite a bit more Bitcoin. It's been very interesting at how much they're actually picking up. So that is the prospect that Bitcoin is going to continue higher. Quickly going into on-chain analytics just to dive into it. The stablecoin ratio is showing that that is going down. And when that is low, and when the values of the stablecoin ratio are low, it implies that there is volatility to see Bitcoin make a move to the upside. Okay. Now, even though we've got that logic, where are the miners at? What are the miners doing? So if we just zoom in right now to see what the miners have been up to lately, you can see that the miners haven't really been selling that much Bitcoin. They've been selling it on the pullback to the 80, 90 zone. But in these regions here, they haven't really been selling too much, which is sort of a good thing. But it is starting to climb up a little bit, which I'm not too concerned about. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, quickly going over into Bitcoin price action right now. So we've got Bitcoin currently on the big time frames. Let's just have a look at that. Here we go. So the thing is, Bitcoin is stalling right now, given that we've got this succession of highs that keep on getting taken, but they're not really following through with those highs. Going into the higher time frame for Bitcoin, just to put it into perspective, yeah, unless Bitcoin clears this range, it has to really clear that 109 zone to be on the logic that we're going to see a pump to the upside and then try and clear out all this liquidity up here. The order flow says so, that we've got people wanting to sell the Bitcoin. But what I'm looking at is I'm seeing a lot of bids coming into action. Now, listen, don't get it twisted, right? Ask yourself this question right now, okay? If the stock market looks like it's topping out and we're heading into a Fed pivot, all right? If the balance for BlackRock is going up as Bitcoin's price is going up, does it suggest a breakout? Or, remember, it's institutional investors that are getting involved in this. So, quite frankly, that could mean that institutional investors, they don't just go for one direction. They are masters of risk. They are the hedgers. So is it possible if we could make the claim that they're buying the ETF and shorting Bitcoin futures? Could that be the case? Because Bitcoin's not really showing us the idea of going up just yet. It's stuck inside of this range. And each time it goes up to a high, it makes a lower high. We need to see Bitcoin breaking out. And we're not seeing that. Bitcoin should have taken the all-time high if the Nasdaq's making the move, but the Nasdaq doesn't have the volume to back it. Again, going into it, Nasdaq Composite, again, the volume's not there on the daily. And even though they've moved up straight 3 days in a row, the volume hasn't been there. So as an investor, you've got to look at that and say, okay, we're at all-time highs right now. Is there a conviction? No, there isn't a conviction, but it doesn't mean that we can't see the conviction. It just means, oh, Nasdaq is doing its flavor. What an absolute madness of an asset class that is. I'll just bring that up for you just right now. Hold on, here we go. So we got Nasdaq right now. It's currently testing the VWAP and it's at the point of control. It's been holding in this range all day and the news itself marked everything lower. But we do have a couple of high volume nodes down here, and we've got the daily open right there. So it's going to be interesting if they do lose this VWAP right there, guys. It's going to be a very interesting day if they can sustain it. But yeah, that's the logic with Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. And the fact that the ETF is climbing, I believe they're actually shorting it for the future. So they're shorting the futures, but still loading up on the ETF because they're expecting in the future that Bitcoin is going to sustain itself and continue to the upside. Now, remember, this is on the daily time frame. If you just go over to the weekly chart itself, you can see that Bitcoin is just stuck. It's not doing anything just yet. Now, this weekly candle close needs to close above the previous week's candle high, which currently sits at the 109,169. You get that, then you are on a promise of seeing Bitcoin making some sustained moves to the upside. Okay? Quickly going over into other asset classes just to put it into perspective to help you understand exactly what the story is. Let's just do this. Now, gold. Gold has been very, very interesting to say the least, guys. Now, gold is pulling back, and I only believe reason why gold is pulling back is because they are starting to hedge with gold. But you've got to be careful because anything can happen with regards to the story of Israel and Iran. But I think that what they're waiting for with gold is the idea of the interest rate cuts. They keep on throwing the rate cuts. We need to see the rate cuts coming into play to suggest the idea that gold is going to continue higher because when interest rates are cut, gold naturally ends up going higher against interest rates. Okay, it has an inverse relationship. Now, what I said earlier on about ETFs, check this out. All this story about uranium and nuclear. Look at these ETFs. Global X uranium, all right? It's going up. Sprott uranium, VanEck uranium, Range Nuclear Renaissance Index, Sprott Junior uranium miners. Look at that. They are just climbing up. And they started to climb from the April the 7th, all right? And we've just recently had these wars with Israel and Iran, sorry. So you can see that money's going into those. But what you've got to be mindful of, ladies and gentlemen, to sustain the idea that the market is going to continue higher is we need to know if the ETFs, the money in ETFs is coming out of ETFs. We want it to come out of ETFs, that's money markets, to go into the stock market. That's what we're looking for, guys, because if people are planted in money markets, it means that they're trying to diversify and spread their risk out. Well, if you're spreading your risk, it means that you're not having a conviction about a specific asset class, you know? So you're going to park your money over there just in case oil goes up. So you're heavily weighted in oil stocks, for example. Or if you're heavily weighted in crypto, when that's going down, you want to go over to defense-based stocks or utility stocks. And you're trying to diversify that. Maybe if the stock market's going down, you might want to seek over to the bonds market. And that's what the ETF market is. But if they're still in the ETF market, given that there's around $7.5 trillion sat over there, that needs to come out of there and start going into the stock market to seek high risk. Even at all-time highs, it's not encouraging them. And that makes sense with the fact that the volume, the stock market's not there. So I'm just planting ideas in your mind, ladies and gentlemen, just to put it into perspective. That's all it is. Okay. Any questions? Tina, anything about the stock market Circle? Let's just go and have a look at Circle right now. I will pull that up for you. Circle. So Circle right now, guys, is pulling back. Okay, there we go. It's come to the point that I spoke about yesterday, a couple of days ago, at 200. It's at $200 a share, and they've closed that gap right now, which is very good. Just going into the volume to have a look at it. So this was yesterday's volume. You can see its volume starting to taper off as it's going down, which is a good sign as well. I would say that the sub, I mean, it's closed this gap right now. We do have this little gap right here, which they did try and attempt to close. But if it were to even go down to the 170, 150 mark, it'd still be a valid place because stable coins are the thing that are going to be moving right now. They're even saying that Coinbase is now the Amazon of crypto services with a price target of $510. Well, naturally it is because it offers so many services behind its platform. If we just go over to Coinbase price action and we just look at that, I mean, look, this is where we are with Coinbase. Average daily volume of around 12 million shares. Volume is coming. This is what you want to see. That is volume right there in Coinbase. That's what you want for a stock, okay? And going into the weekly itself, you can see, look, both weeks they've been going up. So that is sustained. That is valid that this stock is getting institutional interest. And when you look at it, 1,600 funds, even though the last reading was 1,626, the next reading in March 2025 shows 1,604. So some funds have come off, but fundamentally they are still present. And it looks like it could be getting ready to take out its pre-IPO price of around $440 with the price target, as they said, around 510. So that's not bad, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to trade Coinbase, you can trade it on BTCC because it's one of the tokenized stocks on BTCC right there, Coinbase. You click that one and you can trade NASDAQ. So if you do decide to join and trade on BTCC, make sure you're using the Traders Reality link so you get 10% bonus and what have you. So you don't need KYC or VPN to actually use this if you're from the United States. Okay, cool. Now, as we go into the market open, in principle, they are going to be reacting very shortly to the data that's come out regarding the unemployment claims and the durable goods orders, all right? The common theme right now is what is Trump going to be saying about Powell? The market will react to the story of Powell being replaced. But the Fed has obviously been giving us the idea that by the fall, they are going to cut the rates. So as long as that is coming into play, that could effectively still end up sending things higher. But if it's not on volume, then of course that's going to be a problem for the marketplace or for investors who want that conviction with volume, especially at all-time highs. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I want to try and make it short and sweet. Please go into the market open with safety. Don't risk too much and don't try and go for hero trades. Take quick shots, take scalps, do what you need to do and just be safe and just make sure you're paying attention to that madman, Mr. Donald Trump. And by the way, sell XRP. Mad love and respect. Peace.